Hello, hello, welcome. Good afternoon. I hope everybody's enjoying this Friday afternoon. As people join, I'd love to hear what's one word you would describe the last year with. One word you would use to describe this last year. So as we get ready, as you're getting your journals and getting settled in, I'd love to hear what is one word you would use to describe last year. For me, it would be educational. It was a very educational year. I personally learned a lot. I'm going to go ahead and post the question in chat for people who might be joining late. So yeah, put that in chat. Say hi if you don't mind. Fast or roller coaster? Yes, that is also a very relatable, both of those very relatable words. Thank you so much, Jeremy. And hi, thank you for joining. It's good to see you again. And then our second prep question is, what is your beverage? It's the end of the year. It's a holiday for a lot of people. I'd love to know what everybody's sipping on personally. It's just water because I'm so exciting. But yes, I'd love to know what everybody's beverage is. May, welcome. Thanks for joining, May. I love your word growth. That's amazing. What a really healthy perspective on 2024. I love to see that. Water for Jeremy. Oh, and Jeremy's been enjoying some nog. I'm a little jealous. I have not had any nog, but I did get a flavored coffee creamer, which is, again, wild and crazy for me. So I did pick up some Kahlua flavored coffee creamer. Boy, that is a tongue twister for the holidays. Kind of regretting not having actual Kahlua. So I'm going to put that in chat as well. That is our second prompt. May, I'm so glad that you are also drinking water. It's good that we're all staying hydrated, especially after the holidays. A lot of sodium, a lot of sugar. Water is one of the best things to flush that out. I don't tend to overindulge in food for the holidays, but I did take my sister out for our Christmas yesterday. We had sister Christmas, and I took her out, and we had a lot of salty meat yesterday, which was delicious. But yes, very, very glad that we are flushing things out with water collectively. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started with a little bit just of a greeting, and then we'll dive right into the reflection. So as I'm prepping this, I just want to make sure everybody's got something to drink. Make sure you've got your journal, notebook, online notes, but be prepared because this is a working session and I'm just facilitating with prompts today. If there's anything you feel inspired to drop into chat as we go, definitely feel free, but no pressure. This is really for you. And oh no, my cat just got on the counter with the candles on. So I'm going to keep an eye on that while I greet everybody. But again, get your journals ready, put your thinking hats on. So first off, thank you so much for being here. And even more importantly, for showing up for yourself. You didn't just sign up for a session today. You carved out time to reflect, reset, and invest in your future. That is huge. So take a second to give yourself a little internal high five because you deserve it. So here's the deal. Living a life by design isn't about having it all figured out. No one does. It's about pausing, getting curious, and giving yourself the space to grow with intention. So May, so perfect that last year was about growth because this is a great time to reflect and celebrate on that growth. And that's exactly what we're doing today together. So this is your space to be real with yourself. You don't need to have the right answers or a perfect plan. What matters is that you're here, ready to reflect and learn. So let's go deep, but let's also go with kindness. Give yourself grace to feel all the feels, the wins, the challenges, everything in between, because that is really where the magic happens. If you can, shut out any distractions and really lean in. This is a time just for you. I suggest closing the door, even shutting the cats out. I'm not following my own advice on this one. And if you can, even put some music on in the background, something really calm and reflective, if that helps you. And what we're going to do is celebrate the moments you crushed it this year. Honor the hard stuff that you got through. And remember, growth requires a clear eye and a courageous heart. All right, enough pep talk. Let's get started. I'm going to share my screen because I have, hang on just a second. I need to allow myself to share my screen. All right. And give me just a second, and we're going to go through these prompts together. If I can find it. All right, let me get you started really quick as I figure out how to share this app. All right, so you're going to choose your areas of focus for this reflection today. And I want you to think about not just work as we go through this, because work isn't your purpose. And so I have a cute image that I'm about to share as soon as I can get it up. So give me just a second because I think it'll actually really help for you to see it. I don't know why it's not letting me share Keynote. Well, that is not happening, and we are going to roll with the punches on this one. Okay, so I want you to think about which areas of life you want to focus on besides just work, and I'm going to list them out for you. It's connection and relationships, growth and learning, health and well being, spirituality and meaning, service and contribution, and creation and expression. And so, which of those resonate with you today, and which of those are you resistant to? And so, pick one or two things from that category as well as work as we go through this self reflection. Because what we're really doing is reflecting on our balanced lives, not just what we do for work. That's what's important. All right. So, let's get into the first question. And this is where we really think with intention. So let's start by setting your intention for this process. Why are you focusing on self reflection, and what does this process mean to you? And again, please put this in your journal. This is just for you, but if you feel prompted to put anything in chat, you can. But honestly, this is just your own self reflection right now. So don't feel any pressure. So let me just say that again. Set your intention for this process. Why are you focusing on self reflection, and what does this process mean to you? I'm going to give you just a second for that. And then the follow-up question is, earlier you chose your areas of focus for this reflection. If you haven't already, please write them down because it'll be easier for you to refer back to them. And there's some questions that might pertain and some that might not. So I'm going to go through them again. It's connection and relationships, growth and learning, health and well-being, spirituality and meaning, service and contribution, and creation and expression, as well as work. So go ahead and jot those down just so you have those to reflect back on. All right, so as we go through each reflection question, you'll want to anchor into your focus areas and answer for all of these. So this is the fun part. You're going to build your highlight reel for the year. All right, so as you reflect back on 2024, what are you most proud of? Start with your gut, even if it doesn't make any sense, just jot it down. It doesn't have to be wordsmithed. Just write it down as rough and raw as possible. What are you most proud of? And do that for work and the focus areas that you chose. In addition to what you're most proud of, also write down, what did you accomplish? What were your biggest accomplishments in 2024? Or frankly, even the most meaningful ones, even if somebody else might not consider them big. This is all part of your highlight reel. All right. And then overall, what went well last year? Where did you see progress or growth? May I love that you called out growth. I'm sorry to keep going back to that, but this is what this is all about. So, in your journal, in your notebook, jot down what did you really see growth in? Where did you see progress? What went well? Again, this is all part of your highlight reel. All right, we're moving into the gratitude section. This is one of my favorite sections. As you think past on the last year, what are you most grateful for from the past year? And as you think about each of the prompts, remember to anchor into your focus areas, including work, because that brings out a lot of additional dimensions. So, what are you most grateful for from the past year? And then our second gratitude question is, which relationships were the most impactful? Which relationships in this past year, in all these dimensions of your life, which relationships were the most impactful? And kind of related to that, which relationships blossomed unexpectedly? I love that because there are so many times in my life where I think of a few key relationships and then I reflect back and I'm like, wow, I'm just really excited that I made this new friend or I deepened this relationship. So, which relationships blossomed unexpectedly in 2024? If I'm going too fast, feel free to put it in chat. Otherwise, I'm going to keep kind of going at this pace, but let me know if I'm going too fast. All right. And then our next question related to gratitude is, who would you like to reach out to express appreciation? And I have to say, this is a very, very powerful tool in your own development and in your relationships and kind of progressing all of your relationships is really letting people know how they've impacted you. And I can't tell you, anytime I've done this, people have been really, really, really thrilled. It's really touching to them. So, who would you like to reach out to express appreciation? Yeah, one of the best things about reflecting on our successes is also like gleaning from that what we can learn. So, as you reflect back on the things that went well, the question here is, what made them work? What did you do differently? If that's something that was kind of a new progress or new growth or a new success, what did you do differently? So, what made that work? What did you do differently and why? Just really unpack what went well. The next question about learning is, what did you learn in 2024? And what did you learn about yourself? So there's two things here. Maybe you learned a new skill, maybe you learned a lesson. What did you learn in 2024? And then also, specifically, what did you learn about you? So this is the part where we take our highlight reel and what we learned from our successes and we decide what we're going to carry forward. So the first question here is, which successful behaviors do you want to carry forward into 2025? Which things that worked, which things that made those things work, what do you want to carry forward into next year? Related to that, how will you apply your learnings next year? We talked about, gathering your specific learnings. How will you apply those next year? This is my favorite one because a lot of times we will, think about our learnings and jot them down and sometimes trot them out and tell people and then just kind of forget to actually do anything with them. So I love this question of, how are you going to apply your learnings next year? And just kind of recalling that we're working in multiple dimensions here. We're working in the work area, but also in the areas of life that we think need work. This next question is, which relationships do you want to nurture? So, of your existing relationships in all these different dimensions of your life, which ones do you really want to nurture? In addition to nurturing relationships, again, as you think through all these dimensions, really ask yourself which relationships might be missing that you'd like to create or find in 2025. And this could be anything. I've got some examples of maybe a BFF, a mentor, a coach, a mentee, a romantic relationship, etc. But just think about all of the different dimensions of life that we started with. And which relationships do you think you'd like to actually create next year? What I've found personally for myself is that when I recognize that there's a gap like this and I set an intention to close that gap, I'm much more open to that. I can either go out and create or find what I'm looking for, or sometimes just being more open to it lets it happen organically as well. So it's really good to be cognizant of which relationships you'd like to both nurture and create next year. All right. We've finished the highlight reel portion, which is all about our successes, our wins, our growth. Now we're kind of switching gears in this reflection. And we're going to think about what didn't go well. Where did we struggle? So, what didn't go well, or maybe where did we struggle last year? And I know we talked about doing this reflection with kindness, and this is where we're giving ourselves grace and kindness to say we can explore some of these more challenging areas and be safe doing it. You're in a safe space. You're writing this down for yourself, not for me. You don't have to share this with anybody. And you can look at yourself with kindness as you look back on maybe some of the imperfections of the year. So, in addition to where you might have struggled or where things didn't go well, if you kind of deepen that lens of self-reflection, what were your misses, mistakes, or failures? And a lot of people shy away from using the word failure, and I don't. Some things genuinely fail, and that's okay. And there's a lesson in all of that for all of us. Sometimes it wasn't meant for us. So, giving yourself that kind of kindness we talked about, think about what your misses, mistakes, or failures might have been last year. And as you think about those, ask yourself just kind of what happened. What happened with that? Remember, this is just for you. As we think back on those situations, I'm going to ask you to dig even deeper. So now that you've had some distance from some of the events of 2024, some of these misses, mistakes, I'm going to ask you to reflect with an even clearer eye with that distance and ask yourself what really happened, not just what were the circumstances, but what really happened. Maybe you overcommitted, maybe you ignored some yellow or red flags, but dig a little deeper with, again, a little bit of that emotional distance and ask yourself what really, really happened there. And as you do, a great way to frame it for yourself is to ask yourself at any point, what alternate decisions could you have made to get a different outcome? So, what alternate decisions or actions could you have taken to get a different outcome? I put an example on here that's pertinent to myself, which is could you have asked for help? Because a lot of times when I reflect back on things, I'm like, I probably could have asked for help, or probably could have asked for help earlier. I probably could have recognized I should not be doing this thing at all. So just really think about that with that kindness for yourself. What alternate decisions or actions and when or how could you have done that in those situations? And I know you can't see the slides because the screen share is not working, which is completely my bad. But I call this section catharsis, fittingly enough. So as you look back on those situations and you're discovering some inner truths about what happened or some different actions you could have taken, really kind of sum up for yourself, what's the lesson here? What's really the lesson or the takeaway from those situations and what you're learning about yourself in those situations? And as you think through that situation, and again, this is in all the dimensions of life that you might be examining, ask yourself if there's anything you regret. And I know everybody says don't live with regret, but to me, one of the ways of not living with regret is acknowledging it and processing it and learning from it. So, do you feel any regret as you look back on those situations and you examine the lessons and, your actions? Do you have any regrets? Related to the question about regret, is there anyone you need to make amends with? And if there is, what will you do with that? And for those of you who have been following my videos and my journey or know me in real life, I do this personal process every year myself. And there is honestly few things more powerful than saying, I have these two people that honestly I realize that I'm wronged in some way and I'm going to make amends with them. And I have reached out to those people. It's very freeing. And it's amazing what it does to your spirit and your mind to be able to do that. So, as you look back on anything you might have regretted or any mistakes you may have made in 2024, ask yourself, is there anyone I should make amends with? And if so, what am I going to do with that? This next section, fittingly enough, is called cycles. So as you look back on, some of the challenges or some of the misses in 2024, and you look back on some of these kind of harder questions that we've just talked through, what patterns might you need to break? What situations, dynamics, or issues keep recurring for you? And this question goes back beyond 2024, but really using 2024 as a starting point, can you see any situations that happened last year that's a repeat of something that's gone before? And I will share that when I went through this myself a couple weeks ago, I really had some huge aha moments of situations that I kept getting myself into that was a pattern for me and had some really big realizations about what to do with that. This is a really powerful question. So if you look back and you say, oh, you know what? I did have some things happen in 2024 that I dealt with in 2022 or in previous years. Identifying them is the first step. And as you look at these patterns, right? Situations, dynamics, issues, things that are recurring for you, really think about what's the lesson because it will definitely keep happening if you don't make a change. So what's the lesson that you need to learn from this pattern? And this live will be available for replay. So if you do want to repeat this process for other dimensions that you didn't tackle, you will be able to rewatch this and go through the questions. I suggest doing it for lots of different areas. All right, let's move into the perspective section. This one's kind of fun and challenging. So, speaking of challenging, what challenging feedback did you receive in 2024? And what did you learn from that challenging feedback? And when I say challenging feedback, it could be something you didn't like, something that, you heard it and you kind of went, oof, something that forced some growth. It may even be something you disagreed with. So the related question is, which feedback did you disagree with and why? So of the challenging feedback, you may have actually really disagreed with something. Why did you disagree with it? And as you think about this tough, challenging, or even, feedback you disagreed with, I want you to ask yourself, this is the challenge question for this one. If you approach that same situation from a position of empowerment, the situation that led to the feedback, that it was about, or even your conversation about the feedback, but if you approach that same situation from a position of feeling truly empowered, how would you see and respond to it differently? Hopefully, this kind of last section prompted some insights. And this is where you get to make active, empowered decisions about going forward. So, with this new insight, what do you want to carry forward into 2025? What do you want to carry forward with you into next year? And just as importantly, what do you want to set down or leave behind? What do you want to very intentionally not carry forward with you into 2025? And I'll give you an example. One of the things I'm setting down from 2024 is feeling like I have to be the one who does everything. That doesn't serve me. It causes these bad patterns we talked about. I'm leaving that behind in 2024. It will not be part of 2025. What powerful insight did you just have about your year where you can say, I'm leaving this behind in 2024? And kind of pulling all of that together, what you're carrying forward, what you're leaving behind, leveraging these insights. How will you break the patterns that you identified? when we talked about what patterns do you see repeating, how will you break those patterns? All right, I know that last section was a little intense. So as you take your final notes, just take a deep breath and release. Just release all of that from 2024. And when you do, we're doing a little bit of a reset here. And we're asking ourselves, with all of this kind of knowledge and new thoughts, what are 3 new things you will do in 2025? As you think about the good, the bad, and the ugly of 2024 and all the whys and the lessons, what are 3 new things you will do next year? In addition to 3 new things, I'm also going to ask you, what 3 things will you do differently next year? A way of working, an approach, a mindset. What will you do differently next year? Related to doing things differently, are there any specific situations that you would approach differently or handle differently, and how? And you might think back to that empowerment question, for example. So if you approach things with a mindset of empowerment, what would that look like for certain situations? Just want to say great work so far, everybody. We're almost there. We're in the home stretch. I want you to really think about what 2025 could look like for you. And that might involve leaning into one of the life areas that you feel like you haven't spent enough time on. That could be, health and wellness. That could be learning, could be anything. Think about those areas of life and really think about 2025 and start to envision what you want it to look like. And as you think about all these different life dimensions, I want you to ask yourself, what do you want to learn next year? It could be a new life lesson, it could be a skill, it could be, I don't know, something emotional, but what do you want to learn next year? In addition to learning, what do you want to accomplish next year? When you get to the end of 2025, what do you want to make sure that you've done? Jeremy says woo that we're almost to the end. Thank you, Jeremy. I know this is really intense. Hopefully you guys are finding it as valuable as I do every year. I always learn a lot. And then as we think about that vision for next year and we move into thinking about relationships, how can you be a better friend, parent, leader, partner, teammate, any of these things? How can you just be better in these key relationships in 2025? And as always, I'll get a little vulnerable and share mine. I have definitely realized that I am not the best listener in some of my close relationships. And so, one of the things I'm working on when it comes to my relationships next year, I've started already, but it's a key thing for next year is being a better listener. And as we continue to think about that vision for next year, at the end of 2025, what will you be the most proud of? When you think about what you wanted to accomplish, how you want to develop your relationships, what you want to learn, or frankly, anything else, at the end of next year, what will you be the most proud of doing? And as you picture that and you picture yourself standing there at the end of the year, feeling this pride, looking back, how will you do that thing? High level, not a detailed plan, but high level. How will you accomplish the thing that you're going to be the most proud of? Now, holding this picture in your head, this vision of 2025, I want you to set your intention for the upcoming year. And as you set that intention, I'm going to challenge you to be bold. Be bold about that intention. Be brave about what you want to do next year. Keep this growth mindset and write down your intention for next year. And as you may have seen me talk about in some of my posts or in some of the videos, the best way to have the year you want is to decide what you want out of the year and go through this exercise of reflection, learning, and intention setting and saying how you're going to do what you want to do next year. And to stay true to it and check in with yourself throughout the year. But it starts with this process. All right, that is the self reflection for last year and the look ahead for next year. You have done a lot of deep learning. You've looked at these lessons. Again, I recommend doing this for a lot of different quadrants. I'll do a post where I can show the image of the different life areas that we're working through. But you might be asking yourself, what else can I do with that? And the first thing I'm going to say is save your highlight reel. So at the beginning of this exercise, you created a highlight reel of your accomplishments, your wins, your successes, and your learnings from 2024. This highlight reel is invaluable. You can use this in a lot of different areas of your life. One of the biggest things that you can do for yourself is go back and reflect on that, because it will help remind you of who you are at your best. And when we talk about, branding and image, there's the self-image and then there's the image that we project to others. And I'm going to go ahead and say that that highlight reel is very useful for both. That highlight reel is really the foundation of your brand. And the stories you tell from your highlight reel, those are also your brand stories. Tell those stories to yourself next year when things get hard, to remind yourself of who you are, and tell those stories to other people so that they have a better lens into you and your true self. That's the power of brand stories. And the other thing that you can do is keep the momentum going, and I'll explain how in just a second. So as we come to the end of the session, I want to take a moment to thank each of you for participating and taking the time for yourself. Taking the time to reflect, to honor your experiences, and to learn from the year behind you. It's no small feat. It's brave and it's hard work. So take a moment to acknowledge all that you've done here today, whether it's the insight you've gained, the challenges you faced, or the goals that you've started to set for the future. This is what Life by Design is all about. It's choosing to live intentionally, reflecting on what really matters, and making decisions that align with the life that you want to create. You've taken a huge step on that journey today, and I'm really proud of the work that you've done, and I hope that you are too. So save your highlight reel, tell your brand stories to yourself to help you remember yourself at your best, and tell them to the people in your network. And this is just the beginning. Reflection is the foundation that everything that we build next. If you're ready to go deeper, I invite you to join me for the next section, where we'll explore self-discovery. This optional deep dive will help you uncover your core values, your strengths, and what truly drives you. It's about understanding who you are at your core so that you can move forward with clarity and confidence. The key to building a life of purpose is truly understanding what your purpose is. After that, we'll take everything we've learned and bring it into the living authentically session, designing a purposeful life. This is where we'll focus on aligning your daily life with your values, your purpose, and your vision for the future, so we can carry this work forward. So if today was about looking back to understand where you've been, these next sessions are all about looking inward and forward to design the life that you want to live. So I'll be posting announcements about these next two sessions. The first one will be next weekend, and the next will be the following. So when I get them scheduled, you'll see an announcement so that you can sign up for those as well. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe so that you can keep up with all the great things we're doing here on She Makes It Work. Definitely consider supporting us on Patreon. I think I have the link in the video description here for the live. And I'd also ask that if you found this valuable, it is available on replay. So please let your friends and colleagues know so that they can go back and follow themselves. I think that the whole point is about helping people and about building community. And if you can be part of building that community, that would be amazing. So thank you for spending the time with me today and committing to yourself in such a meaningful way. This work is a process, and it's okay to take it one step at a time. Celebrate your progress and know that you're capable of creating a life that feels authentic and truly purposeful. I hope to see you in the next session, and until then, keep reflecting, dreaming, and designing the life you want to live. You've got this. Take care, and I'll see you soon.